Hello, hello, hi, folks. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. In hopes that you squeezed more out of your day than the day squeezed out of you. Welcome. I am Sean Azimi with SideGigSean.com, and I welcome you to this live. Um, I have an interesting topic for you tonight. Um, Personally, I've been dealing with some anger issues. I'm gonna have to admit, um, there is uh, there's much in there in me, and I have been kind of looking around for solutions, for things to help me out, if you would. Peter, how are you? Welcome, dude. Good to see you, bro. So yeah, um, I have been dealing with some anger issues, and I would really like to kind of work with them, and find out what's going on and how I can kind of help myself, if you would. So, in my quest to search for solutions and whatnot, I came across probably one of the best ways you can describe anger and perhaps maybe even have a grip on it. Probably the best way I've come to learn. Miss you as well, bro, big times. um, so this comes from Rabbi Dr. Abraham Twersky. Now, if you don't know who he is, I'm a fan of his, and you got to expand your knowledge, if you would. You got to kind of just stretch your wings and kind of see what's out there, right? And I love some of the ways he explains some concepts. One of it, I've talked about love, I've talked about purpose, I've talked about a few things that he talks about, but I haven't talked about anger, and I love the way he explains anger. So he talks about when you want to explain or explain the concept of anger, he says it's best to look at the phases of anger. And I thought that's right off the bat, I thought that's so interesting, right? Phases of anger. Never thought about that. So he has three phases for anger. One is when somebody provokes me. Now, I feel angry, I feel, right? But I really don't have any control over it because somebody else provoked me, right? Phase two is how do I respond to that? How do I punch the guy in the face? Do I walk away? Do I do flip-flops? You know what I mean? What do I do? All right. Ratan, how are you? Welcome. Happy, holy. I know it's a big celebration in India. I think it was yesterday or today. So, yeah. So how do I respond, right? And the third phase, he says, I didn't have a choice. So how long do I hold on to it? How long do I hold on to it? I thought that's so awesome, right? So feeling of anger, right? That first phase, if you would, the feeling of anger, when somebody provokes you and you're like, right, you feel angry, he calls that anger, right? He calls that anger. I mean, that's simple. The reaction to anger, that phase, the reaction to anger, he calls that rage. And hanging on to the anger, he calls it resentment, right? Hanging on to anger, he calls it resentment. So anger, rage, and resentment. Now, he says, I can't do much about somebody else provoked it and got me angry, right? Maybe I can take some different perspective, or maybe I can like learn a couple of things, but there's not much I can do, right? They provoked me. Now, but I could do something about how I react to it, right? And he talks about his father gave him a piece of advice on anger, and I thought this was so good. And he says, my father said, when somebody did something that was supposed to provoke you to get mad or angry or what have you, he would say, what he did was so foolish. If only he knew how foolish that was, he would not have done it. I feel sorry for that person. I feel pity for that person. And then he would say, how can you be angry at somebody you feel sorry for? Ooh, yeah. That is good. How can you be angry at someone when you feel pity for them? Think about that. What they did was so foolish. In fact, if they knew, they probably wouldn't have done it in the first place. Now, how long to hold on to him? He says he got the best concept from Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, right? Now, I'm not well, that's a whole other life. But this concept is really good from AA. So he says, harboring your resentment is allowing someone who you don't like to live inside your head without paying any rent. Harboring your resentment is allowing someone who you don't like to live inside your head without paying rent. And who would be that nice to do that, right? You don't want to be that nice. I've talked about this concept in other lives, and I didn't even know he was talking about it. But I've always said there's no sign sticking out of your head saying for rent, right? You don't have that sign sticking out of your head saying for rent. So why would you let people in your head, right? So reacting to anger, I know it's going to take a while. I'm a work in progress. I'm working on it. I know I've been dealing with some stuff myself. I'm being very transparent. It's just part of being a human, but I'm working on it, right? But I'm supposed to be above that. I'm supposed to be beyond that. I'm supposed to be more than that. So I recognize that. I'm a definite work in progress. I know that. But there are times, I don't know if you can relate to this or not, but there are times that you even feel guilty after you were angry. Have you ever felt that? Like maybe with a parent or brother or sister, significant other, wife, husband, whoever, you were angry and then you felt so guilty about it, right? And yeah, I know I have. I know I have. So one thing that he recommends, and I like this, I may actually do this. he recommends to keep an anger journal, which is pretty interesting, right? A journal where you can keep track of what happened that got you angry. You kind of write it out. And then what he suggests is that you come back at night. Well, I mean, if it happened during the day, you come back at night and you give it some time. You close the notebook, if you would. You come back and you read it and you look at it and you evaluate, see if you handled it the best way possible or not, right? You can evaluate to see, oh, did I do this the best way I could or not really, right? So I love the 3 phases of anger. I love it. Someone provokes you, And then how do you respond? Third, how long do you keep it? How long do you keep it and hold on to it? Anger, rage, and resentment, and keep a journal and work on these skills of kind of, what I've been doing, and this is being truthful. I've been really praying. I've been praying that I get filled with the Holy Spirit, and I get overflown with the Holy Spirit. So all the junk and the dirt and the anger and resentment and all this stuff just kind of runs out of me, just kind of pours out of me, and I get cleansed. So that's kind of what I've been doing, and I've been just praying and meditating, because I know I'm dealing with some stuff, and I don't really like it a whole heck of a lot, to be truthful. So work in progress. But I thought this was it's such a great explanation, because then you can kind of really see the phases and the stages and where you are and how you could treat each one. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you got some love, some inspiration, some value out of this. I'd love to know your feedback. Drop them down in the comments below. Let this feed grow. I appreciate you guys. Let me know what you think of these 3 phases, or 3 names for the phases, or even the anger journal. If one of you has one, or I don't know, you got angry today and you decided to write one, and then tomorrow you go back and take a look at it, you want to give us some feedback, drop your thoughts, your comments in the feed below. Let it grow. I appreciate you guys. And if you feel like this was worthy of sharing, do what you got to do. Spread the love. Tag a couple people. Share it on your wall. Send it via messenger. Do the thing. And yeah, I appreciate you guys. And I am Sean Zamy with SideGigSean.com, signing off until tomorrow, when we do it all over again. Much love.